Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. And at the end of another week and the end of another poll, we've got a very clear winner with the Star Wars Movie Trilogy Sourcebook from West End Games. Now I'll be covering that on the desktop in a second, but I'd just like to remind you before I go that these videos are available a week early to people on our Patreons, so we'd like to thank everybody on that. But I'll be back at the end of the video with some other poll related things and some other channel related stuff, so I hope to see you there. But let's go over to the tabletop. So this is the Star Wars Movie Trilogy Sourcebook from West End Games, and it came out in 1993. Now, there was another trilogy sourcebook which came out later, which is a special edition. But the contents of this and the special edition sourcebooks are very, very different. So you shouldn't combine, or you shouldn't think that the special edition is just an updated version of this. No, they are very different books. Now, first of all, on the cover, which is very shiny, we're showing up my camera again. And it's a version of the original Revenge of the Jedi poster. Long before the movie was Return of the Jedi, the third Star Wars film, it had the title Revenge, and it had a very nice poster, which we'll see because it has full versions of the poster inside this book. But I do love that very sort of cloudy, misty picture of Vader and Luke fighting. And the back cover is equally sort of blank. Just a picture of Vader there, if I can try and show it up without the reflection showing too much. Nope. The camera's really showing here, but there's a very faint image of Vader on there. And inside, we've got the standard West End Games production standards, very nicely laid out. The credits there, and then a foreword. Well, all the Star Wars source books tended to be in-universe. So they tended to be researched by this character, Voron Nal, director of the Council Research for the New Republic, who would go out and interview people and do research on the topics of the source books. So Voron Nal in this has created a comprehensive history of the epic struggle between the forces of the Empire and those of the Rebel Alliance. So a lot of it's in-universe. It's nicely done. We've got the intro text from the original Star Wars A New Hope, a table of contents, and then we're straight into heroes and villains. Now, the book lays things out very, very nicely. For much of the book, it does have some mistakes later on, but the way it does this, so we've got Luke Skywalker here, and we've got all the background information going through the movies, and then we've got his stats as of the Battle of Yavin, and then as of the Battle of Hoth, and as of the Battle of Endor. So we can see how his character progresses as he learns new skills, becomes more advanced. And that's what it does for the major characters here. So we've got Princess Leia, and we've got her stats. Well, I would question her stats. While it's nice to give heroes nice high stats, I don't think Leia works out quite well. Because considering in Star Wars Role-Playing Game, a standard Stormtrooper has 2 dice stats. So he has 2 dice perception, 2 dice knowledge, mechanical, technical, and strength. The human average. Well, Princess Leia has a perception of 3 dice plus 1. Well, that's quite right. She is definitely far more perceptive than a standard Stormtrooper. But her strength is 3 dice. And to tell the truth, while I loved Carrie Fisher, she's a wonderful actress and sweetheart of our lives, the princess, I don't believe she'd have won an arm wrestling match against a soldier. So I'm a bit questioning of their deciding of stats. Now perhaps you could have boosted them up for the Battle of Endor, so when she throttles Jabba perhaps she had been working out. But nope, her stats remain the same, it's just her skills go up. We've got Han Solo going through, Chewbacca, R2-D2 and C-3PO. Now again, I sort of question that C-3PO is just as strong as a Stormtrooper. I definitely don't see him that way. He's far more knowledgeable. I'll give him that he's more mechanically apt. He's perhaps more perceptive. He's more technical. But just as dexterous and strong, I would say he's probably weaker and a bit more clumsy. R2-D2 has a strength of 3, so R2-D2 outmuscles Stormtroopers as well. I'm not sure whether that's Stormtroopers are too low and should have had higher stats, or whether they were biasing high for the heroes. Even going to Darth Vader here. Darth Vader only has a 3 dice strength. So Vader, with all his mechanical add-ons, still is only as strong as Princess Leia. It doesn't feel quite right. At least Emperor Palpatine, he has 3 dice strength as well. So Vader and Palpatine in an arm wrestling match, and either one of them could win. But it's well laid out. It's got all the stats there for the different characters. Now we go on to Tatooine, and then we lay out characters local to that area. So we've got the Sand People here, with their stats. Owen Beru Lars. We've got Obi-Wan. Some background information on him and his stats. Desert Stormtroopers. Well, the Desert Stormtroopers are a bit more strong, because all stats are 2 dice. No, even the Desert Stormtroopers are the same. It must be the Snow Stormtroopers I'm thinking of who are stronger. R5-D4. Power Droids. Then we're on to Mos Eisley, laying out some of the characters here. So we've got Figrin Dan and the modal nodes. Dr. Evazan. Again, I would question the choice of some of the stats, because he is Dr. Evazan. Now, in his background story, I'm pretty sure that he's a failed doctor. He's screwed up. But the fact that he has a technical of 2 dice, but a medicine of 1 dice. So R2-D2, I think, or C-3PO had 3 dice. So C-3PO is a better surgeon than Dr. Evazan. Really don't like that. Labria, the Devronian conman. Kabe Chadrafan. We've got some information about the Tonica twins, who, in a cutscene from the original A New Hope, were flirting with Han as Luke and Ben arrive at the table. We've got Greedo, Gurinden. I do like the fact that recently Ben Burt, I think, did the sound effects in Star Wars, revealed that Gurinden in A New Hope used samples of John Wayne. So Gurinden's a bit of a cowboy at heart. Then we're on to the Death Star. The stats for that, which of course are totally ridiculous, 5,000 turbo lasers, 5,000 heavy turbo lasers. I don't even know why they have all these numbers. There's no point in that many weapons. It's not like the Games Master's going to go, your ship attacks the Death Star, I'm going to roll 5,000 times for it to shoot at you. We've got Grand Moff Tarkin, Admiral Motti, and just through the officers on that. General Tag, the Death Star officers, Death Star troopers, the Interrogator droid, the Dianoga. Then we're on to Yavin and General Dodonna. Standard Rebel soldiers. Biggs Darklighter, we've got the stats for him, even though he didn't feature much in the uncut version of the film. Jake Porkins, who is the receiver of the Kenobi Medallion for Heroic Sacrifice. Then we're on to Hoth and The Empire Strikes Back. They don't have the credit scroll from Empire Strikes Back as we go into that section, which I thought was a bit sad. We did the one for New Hope. It would be nice to have each as we went through the sections. We've got the Probe Droid. We've got the Wampa Ice Creature. General Reekin. General Derlin. The Medical Droid. And then we're on to the Battle of Hoth. So we've got the Echo Base Troops. Snow Speeder pilots. Wes and Zev. Hobbies are different pilots of the Snow Speeders. Dak. And then we've got the colour posters. So we've got a version of the original Star Wars Hildebrandt poster with A New Hope instead of just Star Wars. Not keen on that. I much prefer the layout of that logo. In fact, I prefer that to the standard line logo that's usually used. But it's an interesting poster. We've got some very early versions here. A sort of more cowboy style one, I guess. The first anniversary of Star Wars poster. The first 10 years poster. Star Wars exclusively on public radio. Empire Strikes Back coming to radio. The Star Wars concert. Then the poster for Empire Strikes Back obviously they had a very clear idea that Vader was the draw of the movie. I think that's an unused poster. I don't remember seeing that, but that's a far more classically seen Empire Strikes Back poster. This one, I don't remember seeing that. It says it's a re-release poster, but I don't believe I went to see the re-release of it. And then we've got the Revenge of the Jedi poster. That's what I was talking about with the Luke and Vader sword fight before the name changed. Probably my favourite of the Return of the Jedi posters, because that's a standard one, which I'm not that keen on. It looks a bit cheap and tacky. That one's pretty good with just the lightsaber. And that one I remember being on the front of my DVD, I believe, when I first bought it. Anyway, we've got the Cold Assault Stormtroopers, who actually do have a 3-die strength. So these Stormtroopers are more muscly than the others for some reason. Those were the ones I was remembering. And we're on to the fleet. So we've got Admiral Ozzel and Admiral Piet. And this is the start of one of the bits that I question, because we've got Admiral Piet here. But of course he features in Return of the Jedi, so we're going to stumble across him again later, duplicating the stats instead of just advancing him slightly. Captain Needa, Star Destroyer officers, and then we've got the bounty hunters, Sir Boba Fett and Slave One. We've got Dengar, IG-88 and Bosk, Zukas and Forlom. We've got Dagobah. So we've got the stats for Yoda here, showing how incredibly skilled with the Force he is. Then we're on to Bespin. We've got Lobot. And Bespin Guards, citizens of Cloud City, Ugnaughts. Then we're on to Jabba's Palace. The Wart, the big frog thing which is outside the Jabba's Palace at the start. We've got Bib Fortuna. The Gamorrean Guards. The Twilight Dancing Girl. Jabba. Then the Rancor itself. And different people, the band, so Effant Mon, Rees, Tessek, Barada, who is one of the Klatooinians. The Nikto, of course, are other ones at Jabba's planet. So we had Klaatu, Barada, Nikto within Jabba's palace. Nice credit to the day the Earth stood still. Sarlacc. Again, we've got Boba Fett. So, no updated stats, but just an updated background. We've got the Rebel fleets. We've got Mon Mothma, Admiral Akbar, Crix Medine, who was my favourite, as a Rebel intelligence officer commanding commando raids. He's very, very useful in the role-playing game, because if your players are rebels, they'll end up working for him at some point. We've got Nien Nunb, we've got Wedge, updated to the Battle of Endor. We've got the second Death Star, Moff Jerjerrod, Admiral Piet, as of the Battle of Endor, so updated slightly, but I don't know why we needed him twice. We've got the Royal Guards, the Imperial Advisors, and we've got the characters on Endor, so all the Ewoks you could possibly want. The Rebel Commandos, Bren Derlin again, as of the Battle of Endor, Biker Scouts, and afterward with the stats for Varen Nal, the armchair historian. An appendix with concentration and new force power, and then we've got some lovely concept art. So the original designs for what Chewbacca would have looked like, but were used for character in Rebels. One of the ones we got here. I do really like that design for an Imperial tank, what was going to be the walkers before they were walkers. Jabba's Palace, after various designs, and I guess these were Vader's Palace, because I believe that's where part of Return of the Jedi was going to be set. Creatures for the Ewoks to ride, or I think they were going to be Wookiees at the start. Looks more like Chewbacca there, with giant flying creatures. And a nice picture of an Imperial shuttle coming down over Coruscant. That looks very familiar from the Death Star scenes. An offer to buy some of the colour posters. And then finally, we've got an advert for Han Solo in the corporate sector, filling in the Han Solo novels. So that was the Star Wars Movie Trilogy Sourcebook, and that won the vote with 41% of the vote, an absolutely resounding win for it. Now, as you might remember, last week I decided to go afresh. I dropped everything from the poll, because we'd just been going over the same few things again and again, and I decided to put new games in. So the Movie Trilogy Sourcebook there was up against World Book 8 for Rifts, which covers Japan. The Brotherhood Sourcebook for Mutant Chronicles, covering the religious cult that tries to keep the demons at bay in the Mutant Chronicles setting. Virtual Realities, the Decker and Cyberspace book for Shadowrun First Edition. And 10-Foot Pole, equipment book for Rollmaster covering a number of times and eras. And they're all gone as well this week. I've decided to drop everything again. Rather than let it get stale, I've decided to put new things in. But I'm bringing back some things which have been in polls before, which I dropped. So I'm mixing it up to see if we can get things going and some interesting new games covered. So I put in the Arabian Nights setting book for GURPS, which takes Arabian Nights sort of stories and introduces fantasy into them. We've got the Sorcerer role-playing game, which doesn't really have a setting, but it covers sorcerers and their dealings with demons and the way they bind them and summon them. We've got Spycraft, the James Bond-alike role-playing game which powers the Stargate role-playing game, but kind of covers spies and military side of D20. We've got Bangkok, Cesspool of the Orient, for Twilight 2000. Now that's been in the poll before, along with Spycraft, and is possibly the only Twilight 2000 sourcebook which covers somewhere apart from Europe and America. So it's an interesting add-on, a look at another part of the world for the Twilight 2000 setting. And finally, I brought back in Cyber Generation, because it sat right in front of me there, staring me in the face whenever I make one of these videos, so I put it back in the poll. Let's see if we can get it done, and it can go on the shelves behind me when it's been done. And on other channel-related stuff, I've got a couple of bits of bad news, mainly for me, but they do concern the channel. You see, recently I went on eBay, and I bought myself a copy of Star Frontiers, the old TSR role-playing game. I've kind of liked it since I've read adventures published in Imagine and Dragon magazine. Loved the setting, loved the idea of it, so I decided to get myself a copy. But it was never delivered. So I went on eBay and complained. However, when I bought the book, it had been Christmas. So I decided to give the guy lots of time to deliver it because of Christmas mail hold-ups, because he might be doing other things, and whatever. So I gave him over a month to deliver it. Now eBay tells me that because I took a month to complain it wasn't delivered, I'm shafted. I've not to get any refund after getting in contact with a guy who's just not replying to the messages, so I'm out of pocket for a retro copy of Star Frontiers, which I would have loved to have covered for the channel. And on a similar note, a few months ago I talked over the Carbon Grey role-playing game, using D6 rules, which is the same as used in the Star Wars role-playing game, a great system. They've brought it back out for Carbon Grey, and I decided to back the Kickstarter for that role-playing game. And for the first time ever I've been contacted by somebody I've bought something or paid for a Kickstarter for, and they want money for delivery. Well, I definitely do feel like this is a bit of a con, because they've already had my money. I backed it quite heavily, so I backed about £150 worth of Kickstarter, $150, £150, whichever it was, and they're holding that ransom unless I pay the delivery fee. There's no way of getting that money back. I already backed the Kickstarter, they've spent that money, it's gone. I've put in for lots of Kickstarters over the years, for movies, for games, for all sorts of things, and I've never been asked for a delivery charge before. People put that into the amount of money they're taking. So I'm a bit annoyed by Magnetic Press and the Carbon Grey role-playing game Kickstarter. I'm very upset as they've charged me more for delivery for the stuff I bought than I probably paid for many a role-playing game that I've covered on the channel. They've charged me £30 UK just for delivery, which is a decent price to pay for a book if you go into a shop. Dungeons & Dragons, I think the rulebooks still come in at under £20 each, so you could probably get a player's handbook and a DMG for less than just the delivery charge they've charged me. So I'm upset with them and I'm not happy. But I will be getting that game through, and I will be covering it, because I do think the game's pretty decent. I'm just upset with the way they handled their Kickstarter. I'm definitely going to dig deeper before I back any other Kickstarters again in the future. So I'm definitely going to be looking at Kickstarter harder in the future. I don't know if I'll be backing them, and with the stuff I know about eBay, I don't know whether I'll be buying stuff on eBay. So it really brings the sources I can get books for to cover on the channel way down limited. So unless I want to start covering PDFs and buying things on DriveThruRPG, which I prefer to have the books in my hand when I'm covering them, I don't know how I'm going to get new books. I'm going to be stuck to the hundreds behind me. But that's years of content for the channel. So let's see how it goes. But anyway, I've definitely wittered on for far too long in this video. So thank you very, very much for watching. But most of all, as always, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.